Now, I guess pilots prepare for this kind of thing in lots of different ways, but even with all these, with all the things on the plane that allow him to control it when the engines are out, pretty much everything has to go right for this kind of an outcome, right?
Everything has to go right, and he did everything right. What he had done was he was a glider instructor and a safety instructor. So in a glider, you have no power, so he knows how to ascertain glide speed ratio, and that's your problem. And I'm sure the co-pilot was telling him what his glide capability was because it's in the checklist. Now, she's reading the checklist, he's flying the airplane, and the ECAM is the big lighting effect. It comes up flashing what's wrong. I imagine that cockpit looked like there were whistles blowing and horns going off and voices going off, and it looked like a Christmas tree. And because every time you have a problem, and it's a big problem, it's a red light, and otherwise it's an amber or white light. But white light's just advisory and doesn't mean anything.
Well, it seems like, too, from what I've read about him, he's an airline safety expert who actually consulted NASA in the past, and it's also nice to have him be a glider pilot as well.
And he was also went to the Air Academy, and where they train as young pilots, and then he went to the Air Force, where he was a 104 pilot, and he was a fighter pilot. So I think that the guy is super trained, and I understand it's from 6 to 8 weeks just to train in this Airbus. As I said, my co-pilot was a pilot in one for 5 years. He loved the plane, and I went over all the aspects of it in anticipation of your call. This plane can take a 7-pound bird in its engine and ingest it, but the bird must have weighed at least twice or 3 times that.
Well, you've had your experience with bird strikes, too. In the U.S., the stats show the FAA tracked more than 38,000 bird strikes in the last 15, 16 years,
Surely.
according to a study. With regards to wildlife management near airports, what is the airport's responsibility or liability, if any?
Well, let's look at it. Originally, there was an airport in Georgia near Atlanta, and there was a garbage dump right next to the airport, and of course that attracted all the birds in the southeast. So planes were losing both engines and crashing on takeoff. So they, of course, had to extricate and get rid of the garbage dump. And if they knew the garbage dump was there and they knew it was defective and they knew it was taking planes down, then they would have been responsible. Here, there's no responsibility because you have all these rivers where wildlife feeds, and they're dumping into the Hudson River and they're dumping into the Atlantic Ocean. So you have birds everywhere because of the construction of our country. And so as a consequence, there is no liability on LaGuardia or on this is my humble opinion, and there's no liability on the pilot whatsoever. Of course, he's a hero, and there's no liability on Airways, US Airways. I mean, he was trained, he flew, and he did everything perfect. He made the choice to land on the water. He knew what he was doing, and he landed it perfectly and had pulled the ditch switch so the plane floated.
It's a fascinating story. Yesterday when I heard the news reports coming in and I heard of a crash in the water, I thought, well, this is not going to be good. And then they immediately came on and said everybody got out. I was absolutely astounded.
Right.
This is a special presentation of the Arizona Law Channel, one of the newest members of the Legal Broadcast Network, and my guest has been Charles Brewer. His Arizona firm, Charles M. Brewer Limited, has specialized in personal injury law for the past 48 years, and his areas of expertise include all types of aviation law and litigation. And as you can tell from this broadcast, he is a jet-rated pilot himself. Charles, thanks for your expertise and perspective.
And thank you for having me, Scott.
This is Scott Drake, and you're watching the Legal Broadcast Network.